Get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, and across the nation. And it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
It's December 4th, 1995. WWF Raw and WCW Nitro are putting on their Monday night television shows, and fans have the pleasure of choosing which show to watch. The WWF are still showing matches from their Richmond, Virginia tapings, while WCW is live tonight from Phoenix, Arizona. Let's watch Nitro and Raw and see who had the better show this week. We have some big news to kick off Nitro. Eric Bischoff announces that the Macho Man Randy Savage is going to defend his WCW Championship in our main event against the Total Package Lex Luger. Bischoff says that Hulk Hogan, the Giant and Ric Flair are all in the building, but the WCW Executive Committee has put all three men on probation. They are all on thin ice, and they should all be on their best behaviour during this episode of Monday Nitro. Raw gives us a pre-taped opening that hypes tonight's matches. We will see Razor Ramon defend his Intercontinental Championship against Dean Douglas, and our main event will feature Marty Jannetty taking on Psycho Sid. We will also have another update on the condition of Shawn Michaels at the very end of Raw. Ask yourself the question, if you watch these shows' introductions, which broadcast would you stick to on this Monday night? We have in-ring action to kick things off. Nitro presents a WCW Tag Team Championship match featuring Harlem Heat and the American Males, while Raw gives us Sparkplug Bob Holly versus Davey Boy Smith, the man who will face WWF Champion Bret Hart at In Your House 5. The Raw match starts off with Davey Boy overpowering Holly, but within seconds, Holly gets the upper hand. It looks like Sparkplug has the Bulldog's number here, and everything so far is on point. Holly even delivers a power slam to Davey Boy Smith that looks pretty impressive. Davey is able to lift Holly over his head, dropping Sparkplug on the top rope to turn things back in his favour. After delivering a vertical suplex, Davey shouts that he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, as Jerry Lawler reminds us about Wembley Stadium and how Davey Boy defeated Bret Hart in 1992. Holly fights back while trying and failing to get the audience on his side, delivering a dropkick to the Bulldog followed by a series of punches in the corner. Davey is able to catch Holly out though, scooping Sparkplug up and delivering the running power slam for a clean and decisive win. This wasn't a bad television match at all for this era, maybe a little predictable, but still, there's nothing to complain about with this opening bout. After the match, we learn that Bob Backlund will face Bret Hart next week on Raw. Backlund is interviewed and he's pretty upset that Bret Hart's title will not be on the line during their match. The microphone eventually gets cut off due to Backlund ranting like an absolute lunatic. Over on Nitro, Harlem Heat defend the tag titles against the American Males. I should point out that the last time we saw all four of these men on Reliving the War was when Bagwell and Riggs beat Booker T and Stevie Ray for the gold, but Harlem Heat was able to win the tag team titles back from the American Males on an episode of WCW Pro. Stevie Ray and Scotty Riggs start things off. Stevie overpowers his opponent, but Riggs is able to get a few counter moves in to somewhat excite the audience. We get to see a little double team action from the American Males when Marcus Bagwell gets tagged in, and now we have Bagwell and Booker T taking over in the ring. We then see Colonel Robert Parker at the entranceway holding onto a present that we assume he wants to give to Sister Sherry. Remember, these two were having a relationship that Harlem Heat didn't really approve of. Scotty Riggs gets tagged in. He does a leapfrog and dropkick for the second time in this match, and Bischoff even mentions this on commentary. On the outside of the ring, Sherry opens her gift. It looks like she has a nice new top and a diamond ring. Sherry leaves the arena with Colonel Robert Parker as Booker T looks on. Even without their manager though, Harlem Heat go on to dominate the match. Marcus Bagwell gets a hot tag, but it just isn't enough. Booker T scores the win with the Harlem Hangover. Two very different matches to start off Raw and Nitro, and both have their own merits. Hard choice to kick things off, but I'm going to give the point to Raw here. The Holly vs Smith match was surprisingly polished, it didn't overstay its welcome, and both men got a fair chance to show what they could do in the ring. There was nothing wrong with Harlem Heat versus the American Males, I just thought the Davey Boy Smith versus Bob Holly match was a bit more entertaining. Up next on Nitro, we have a promo from Sting and Lex Luger along with a Sting versus Kurosawa matchup, while WWF Raw presents Fatu versus the Brooklyn Brawler and a Slam Jam update. I'm pretty sure this is Steve Lombardi's first appearance on Reliving the War, and it sure won't be his last. The Brawler starts off pretty strong, laying in the offense to Big Fatu, but within mere seconds, Fatu turns it around with a backbreaker and a cutter. Fatu then goes to the top rope, he hits the big splash. 1, 2, 3, it's over. I counted this one at 1 minute and 26 seconds. 1 minute and 26 seconds of my life that I'll never get back. Doc Hendricks says he got word about who Owen Hart's opponent will be for In Your House. Remember last week that Owen Hart said he would take on anyone and he would bring the same punishment that got Shawn Michaels injured. Just before Doc reveals who Owen will face, we cut to Bob Backlund, who applies the chicken wing to the arena sound guy, getting a little revenge for his mic getting cut off earlier. Back to Doc Hendricks, and it's revealed that Big Daddy Cool Diesel will face Owen Hart at In Your House. Truly woeful stuff here from the WWF. While all of this is going on, Lex Luger and Sting are getting interviewed by Mean Gene Okerlund, and hopefully we can learn more about their odd relationship. Okerlund tells us that Sting will face Lex Luger and Ric Flair at Starrcade in a triangle match. The winner of that match would then face Randy Savage for the WCW Championship at the same pay-per-view. Odd booking here, seeing as Luger also has a title shot against Savage on this episode of Nitro, but anyway, Mean Gene wants to know more about Sting's relationship with Lex Luger. Sting says that he's good friends with Lex and that won't change. The Stinger doesn't agree, however, with Luger's business relationship with Jimmy Hart, but the total package and Sting will always remain friends no matter what. Sting tells Luger that he has a chance to win the WCW title later on Nitro, and because he's feeling confident about his chances at Starrcade, Sting predicts that he will take on his best friend in the Starrcade main event. Luger says he will win the title later in the evening, and at Starrcade he won't take it easy on Sting. No complaints here, a good bit of hype for the upcoming pay-per-view. Sting walks to the ring for his match with Kurosawa, and the Stinger brings the fight early on, delivering a nice drop kick followed by a clothesline to the outside. Kurosawa then takes the lead with a series of chops and kicks, going on to target Sting's left arm when the action gets back in the ring. Sting is able to break free from Kurosawa's offense, quickly delivering a clothesline in the corner followed by the Stinger splash and the Scorpion Deathlock. Kurosawa submits. The match was just a minute longer than the Fatu versus Brawler match, but this was an easy point for Nitro. WCW done well in briefly building up the Starrcade main event, and we got a match featuring someone who was infinitely more popular than the guys on Raw. The only thing we got out of the Raw segments was the Owen Hart versus Diesel news. The rest was completely forgettable. More matches up next as Scott Norton takes on the Giant on Nitro, while Dean Douglas gets a shot at Razor Ramon's IC title on Raw. Let's stick with Nitro. We see a commercial for Starrcade 1995, and it's all based around the New Japan vs WCW theme. Good stuff. The Giant comes to the ring with Jimmy Hart and the Taskmaster, and man, it's insane how the Giant makes Scott Norton look small here. It starts off like a typical squash match, which is baffling when you consider how revered Norton was at the same time in Japan. Giant keeps chipping away at Norton until Scott shows his strength by scooping his opponent up for a delayed atomic drop. This looked pretty impressive. Scott gets in some more offense before going to the top rope. The Giant catches Norton in midair by the throat. We see the chokeslam and it's all over. Giant scores the win at just 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I assume our Nitro main event will be a long one today. An average throwaway match here that had potential. Norton's strength paired with the size of the Giant could lead to some interesting matches in the future. The IC title is on the line over on Raw. Dean Douglas attacks Razor Ramon while the bad guy has his back turned, giving Douglas an early advantage. Dean takes the IC title away from Razor, but the referee stops Douglas from using the belt as a weapon. Razor is able to hit the fallaway slam followed by a clothesline over the top rope, giving the bad guy a moment to catch his breath and get prepared a little. Razor delivers a hip toss followed by an armbar in the ring. We see a close-up of Razor's boots. He has Shawn's name taped to his footwear. I wonder if this was a Shawn Michaels idea or a Vince McMahon idea. Either way, it's a little corny. Dean hits a pretty rough looking face crusher from the top rope, and let me show you here where the commercial break happened. That's pretty annoying, but anyway, Dean has the advantage when we come back from commercial, but Razor is back in the driver's seat in no time at all. A devastating clothesline leads to a devastating Razor's Edge, and the bad guy picks up the win. Vince McMahon kept reminding us that Douglas was suffering from back problems during this match, and if you watch shoot interviews involving members of the Clique, you'd know that guys like Ramon and Diesel thought that Douglas would complain about injuries in order to stay out of the ring. I'm not saying the Clique were right or wrong here, but Douglas ended up telling Vince McMahon that he couldn't work a show shortly after this Raw match due to the injury. Vince apparently didn't believe Douglas, and Dean was sent out to the audience during a Madison Square Garden house show to announce that he was injured and he wouldn't be competing that night. This Razor Ramon match here was Douglas's second to last WWF match. He defeated Tony Williams on Superstars the day after these tapings before losing to Savio Vega at a house show. Dean would be kept around until January 1996 before getting released from the WWF. Anyway, with this knowledge in mind, have another look at that Razor's Edge. It's a point for Raw here. The Raw match may have been rough around the edges, but it was still more entertaining to watch. Promo time next. Brother Love is going to interview King Mabel on Raw, while over on Nitro, the Nature Boy gets interviewed alongside Charles Barkley, who was playing for the Phoenix Suns at the time. Flair says that he's standing beside the greatest basketball player alive, and the Nature Boy and Sir Charles are going to hit the town after Monday Nitro. Barkley says Phoenix has the best basketball fans in the world, and they also have the best wrestling fans, but everyone in the arena should respect the Nature Boy, getting Sir Charles a round of cheers followed by a round of boos. Mean Gene brings up the Starrcade triple threat match, and the Nature Boy tells Luger and Sting and everyone else in WCW to watch their backs, because Charles Barkley may become a horseman, something that would surely spell doom for the good guys of World Championship Wrestling. And that's it, the segment is over. I don't want to rip it apart just yet because we have Brother Love and Mabel over on Raw. Remember, Mabel is facing The Undertaker at In Your House, and Mabel also stole The Undertaker's urn last week on Raw. Mabel says, and I'm not joking here, Mabel says he was the first person to ever pin The Undertaker's shoulders to the mat, and he's being serious. Mabel then says he is also the first man to ever put The Undertaker out of action, another load of nonsense when you consider the Yokozuna match at the 1994 Royal Rumble. If Mabel said he was the first man to accidentally hurt The Undertaker in the ring so bad that Taker had to take time away from the ring, then yeah, he may have had a point here. Mabel then says he will also be the first man to ever beat The Undertaker in a casket match. 3 strikes and you're out, big man. I'd look over all of this if Mabel was intentionally being delusional, but I don't get the impression he was. Brother Love says he has a surprise for Mabel. A druid walks to the ring with a casket. The druid gets on the ring apron. Here comes the big surprise. Who is under the hood? Sermo. There is zero crowd response here. I mean, zero. Bruce says he has another surprise for King Mabel. The Undertaker's casket has been vandalized with spray paint, and this, for some reason, brings joy to King Mabel and Sir Mo. This was awful, there's no two ways about it, and the Ric Flair promo on Nitro was an excuse to get a basketball star in a WCW ring. I have to give a point here, and through gritted teeth, Raw gets the point. At least there was some build-up here for In Your House 5. Flair just talked nonsense about Charles Barkley becoming a horseman when asked about his Starrcade match. Mabel at least addressed The Undertaker and his upcoming casket match. Both of these were bad though. I didn't want to give either show a point here, but I want to try and pick one over the other, as painful as it may be sometimes. Maybe some old school NBA fans would have went with Nitro here though. As a quick side note, Charles Barkley and Ric Flair remain close friends to this very day. Main event time, Lex Luger versus WCW champion Randy Savage over on Nitro, and Raw gives us Sid versus Marty Jannetty. Razor Ramon is psyching up Marty for his upcoming match backstage. Jannetty asks Razor to look out for the 1-2-3 Kid. Ramon tells him not to worry. Vince McMahon announces that the first Raw of 1996 will be a special episode named The Raw Bowl, and as Sid is making his way down to the ring, Resident Evil 4 merchant Barry Dudinsky is back. We need to get a little jingle or sound bite when Barry shows up. Let me know what you think. He has some cardboard cutouts this week. This time it's Diesel and The Undertaker. If you remember last time he had some cardboard cutouts, it was Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. So Barry seemingly knew the WrestleMania 12 card before all us peasants in TV land. $25 each. Barry says you can have Diesel and The Undertaker at your breakfast table or in your bedroom. The Undertaker in your bedroom for $25. Marty Jannetty gets in the ring and he brings the fight to Psycho Sid, attacking the big man from behind before delivering a crossbody. Sid puts a stop to Jannetty's flurry while Vince McMahon tells us that Sid and the 1-2-3 Kid will take on Marty Jannetty and Razor Ramon at In Your House. And things slow down incredibly as Sid begins taking the lead. Sid's lack of speed and urgency is highlighted by Marty's aggressive start to this match. Things started off fairly exciting, but now you know what to expect. As Marty tries to find a way to fight back, we see Razor Ramon watching the match backstage, cheering for his In Your House tag team partner. Sid hits a devastating clothesline which looks impressive thanks to Marty's inside out bump, and then Sid puts on a chin lock. Jannetty gets back to his feet, but Sid throws Marty out of the ring. Ted DiBiase gets in a few cheap shots. The 1-2-3 Kid shows up to help out the $1 Million Man, and this leads to Razor Ramon dashing down the ringside. Ramon chases Kid into the ring, leading to Sid and Razor sharing blows as the referee calls for the bell. It's a no contest. Razor chases the Kid through the audience while Sid delivers a powerbomb to Marty Jannetty. This one started off pretty well and it did pick up when Jannetty was on offense. Sid's clothesline looked good thanks to Marty, but everything else was again pretty forgettable. A poor main event here from Monday Night Raw. If Lex Luger is motivated on Nitro, this should be an easy point for WCW. It's also incredible to think that Vince McMahon thought Randy Savage was done as a wrestler during Savage's final year or so in the WWF. Look at the mileage WCW was getting out of the Macho Man here, an absolute career resurgence for Savage that led to primetime matches, pay-per-view main events, and of course, the WCW Heavyweight Championship. Randy Savage goes full throttle at the beginning of the match after refusing to shake Luger's hand. Macho chokes Luger in the corner, but Lex fires back with a clothesline, resulting in Savage taking a breather on the outside. Savage begins favouring his arm. Remember, Lex wouldn't let go of that armbar at World War III. The Macho Man hits a double X handle from the top rope. Savage takes control as Eric tells us that Hulk Hogan and Sting will team up next week to take on Arn Anderson and Ric Flair. Luger can't get a break here as Randy Savage decides to fight fire with fire. Savage begins targeting Luger's arm, wanting Lex to feel the same pain that he felt at World War III. Good stuff. It's a good story they're trying to tell in this match here. Randy is destroying Luger on the outside. The match finds its way back into the ring where Luger falls victim to an armbar from the Macho Man. And give Luger credit here, he's selling it well. He's screaming and shouting as Savage puts the pressure on. Lex manages to get to the ropes, but Savage is totally relentless, going after the arm again inside and outside of the ring. The Macho Man's aggression is his downfall for a moment when Luger ducks out of the way of a double axe handle from the apron. Macho hits the guardrail and this gives Luger a little time to recuperate. Luger is able to take control and thankfully the total package remembers to keep selling the arm, refusing to use it in any offensive moves. For a television match, this has been really good so far. I'm really enjoying this one as it unfolds. As the fight spills to the outside once again, Jimmy Hart removes a turnbuckle pad, but it's Lex Luger who gets drilled into the exposed turnbuckle, taking the referee out with him. Savage hits the elbow drop as the audience goes crazy, but there's no referee to count the pinfall. Ric Flair shows up and he takes out Savage with a pair of brass knucks. Flair puts Luger over Savage, and as the Nature Boy makes his way back up the entranceway, he is stopped by Hulk Hogan. Hogan chases Flair back into the ring, Flair gets taken out, and just as the referee is about to count the Macho Man's shoulders to the mat, Hulk Hogan pushes the referee, resulting in Lex Luger getting a DQ win. Hulk goes to hit Luger, Sting runs down to the ring, and the Hulkster accidentally hits the Stinger as the segment goes off the air. The main portion of Luger vs Savage was a great TV match. It's actually been one of my favourite showdowns here on Reliving the War so far. It's a shame the spotlight was removed from Luger and Savage due to interference. Still a point for Nitro here. Hats off to Lex Luger too. I'm guilty of having preconceived opinions of Lex Luger and his work rate, but when Luger wanted to, he could have solid matches. We're going to get an update from Shawn Michaels' physician on the health of the Heartbreak Kid, and over on Nitro we're going to have a promo with Savage, Hogan and Sting. Hopefully they can sort out their differences. The Raw segment is one of those things you don't want your non-wrestling fans to see. It's that bad. It would be fine if the doctor just gave us the update, but you have this sweet and beautiful string music in the background, and you've got Vince McMahon gushing about how Shawn is just human like all the rest of us, and even the WWF superstars can sometimes get hurt. It's targeted towards younger fans here. I get what they were doing, and this did help Shawn's return in 1996, but it's extremely cringy to look back on now. The music in the little highlight video with Vince McMahon close to tears is what kills it here, and while this maybe did work well for casual fans, the more die-hard supporters of pro wrestling would have seen through all of this. Anyway, the doctor at the Chino Medical Center goes through the effects of post-concussion syndrome before saying that Shawn's neurological tests show that he won't be in the ring anytime soon. Dr. Feelgood here ups the ante by saying Shawn has a form of brain damage and a return to the ring could be life-threatening, and Shawn may never return to the ring at all. We then get the shameless voiceover with Vince McMahon talking about superstars only being human. Watch it for yourself, but don't let any of your hard mates see you watch it. You've been warned. Over on Nitro, Mean Gene reminds Hulk Hogan that he's on probation and he shouldn't be pushing referees around. Hulk says he doesn't care about the probation, he wants to know if Sting is on his side. Sting looks at Hogan as if to say, "Are you kidding me right now?" Remember, Hulk just punched Sting in the mouth, but anyway, Sting says yes, he's on the Hulk side. Hulk obviously wasn't watching Nitro earlier because Sting is again questioned about his relationship with Lex Luger. Sting repeats himself when he says that Luger is his friend, but he doesn't trust his working relationship with Jimmy Hart. Sting reminds Hulk that they have a tag match next week and they need to be on the same page. Hogan asks Sting to keep Lex Luger out of his face. The Stinger says he'll do what he can to keep the total package away from both the Macho Man and the Hulkster. And that's it. We have some harmony to end things on Monday Nitro. We go over to Eric Bischoff, who tries to make sense of all these intertwining feuds we have going on. Luger likes Sting, but he doesn't like Savage. Savage doesn't like Luger, but he's friendly with Hogan. Hogan doesn't like anything but the colour of money, brother. Flair is best friends with fucking Charles Barkley. WCW in 1995 was wild. It's a point for Nitro. I feel like I wanted to turn my TV off during that Shawn Michaels stuff. Okay, so Davey Boy Smith versus Bob Holly managed to get the first point for Raw. Who would have guessed? Raw dropped the ball with the Fatu versus Brooklyn Brawler match. Sting's match on Nitro may have also been quite short, but it was still more fun to watch. Scott Norton and the Giant showed some promise, but Razor Ramon's match with Dean Douglas was better. King Mabel and Brother Love won the next point for Raw. Can't believe I'm saying that. And then Nitro put on an excellent main event that really did blow the WWF's effort out of the water. Finally, the big baby faces scored the final point for Nitro while Vince McMahon was trying to make grown men cry over on Raw. We have a tie this week with 3 points apiece, meaning our overall scores are 4 points to Raw, 6 points to Nitro, and we now have 3 ties. Raw was able to get the win in this week's television rating, scoring a 2.6, while Nitro managed a 2.4.
Oh yeah, this is the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Yeah, too hot to handle, too cold to hold, and funky like a monkey. Yeah, and you just watched another video from my man at Wrestling Bios. Yeah, visit the Wrestling Bios Patreon page and support the brother out. Get yourself some perks and make Wrestling Bios the cream of the crop that rises to the top. Dig it!